Hey, today we're going to be looking at our first project in Adobe Animate CC, the Flying Text project. First, we need to open up Animate CC. To do that, you're going to need to go to the menu and search for Animate. When you do this, it should appear. You're going to right-click that, and you can pin to start or pin to your taskbar. I would do that and make it easier to open this up later on. Once you open it up, it will look like this. Now, general purpose files, we're going to be using ActionScript 3.0, so we're going to click on that. From here, there's a few settings that we need to adjust. On the right hand side, it looks very similar to Illustrator. We're going to see our tools bar, we're going to see some property menus, and we have some other things like colors in our library and a few other features. What I would do is go to our workspace and hit Reset Essentials just to make sure things are lined up properly. You might need to double click on some of these tabs to open them up. It will help you out. From here, we're going to check a few different properties. We're going to make sure our FPS is running at 24 frames a second. We're going to check that our size is 55 by 40. In this case, it's pixels. We could change that here too if we need to. Stage color. If I click on it, I should be able to change my stage. So stage right here. We're going to select a very neutral color. Don't get super crazy with like the bright neons. Try to find something a little dull, a little dimmed. That way we're not overwhelmed by your text. That would be perfect. From here, we're going to find the type tool. So text, we're going to come up here. We can click and drag, create text. Now you're going to use your name. You might have more letters than me, and that's fine. From here I can highlight my text, and I can go to my properties windows and I can start changing it. So like in the family, I can change the font family, find a really good font, something that you think is creative and looks good. I'm going to use Latin, wide Latin in this case. Size, the size of our font. I would change this so that your font is pretty decently sized. Again, if it's bigger than our stage here, you won't see it. Also, change the color so that it is a contrasting color. So I have blue here. I'm going to change mine to orange. That way I can see it. It's a little bit easier to understand what's going on. From here, I'm going to be using a selection tool. Not the white arrow tool, the selection tool. And now I can move and place this where I want it to go. I would probably place it in the middle. Keep in mind, we're thinking in-game here. So this is where I want my text to finish at. From here, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to hit Break Apart. It's going to take your text and make each and every single one of them its own object. From here, I'll right-click again, and I'm going to hit Distribute to Layers. This will move every single one of these and make it a layer. Now, on each one of these, if you kind of look down here, we have a black circle. This is telling us, hey, this is a keyframe. There's content here. This layer right here is just a regular circle. It's not filled in. There is nothing here. We don't need that, so we're actually just going to delete that right down here. It is gone. Now I'm going to click on each individual layer here, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to hit Convert to Symbol. And for the symbol name, I'm going to call this an F. We're telling Animate, hey, I'm going to be animating this, and I just want to make sure that it's in our library of symbols. It actually will reduce file size. And if you have a long name, you'll have to do this to every single letter, and it's a little annoying. Sorry, there's no faster way to do it. Once you have them all converted to symbol, we're going to look at our timeline here. Now, we want this animation to run for a bit. If I'm clicking over here, 24 frames per second. So 24 images are going to be shown within a second. I want this to last a little bit longer than a second, so I'm going to go to frame 40. From here, I can right click and hit create keyframe. I should also be able to hit F6 on my keyboard to do this as well. What I'm doing here, I'm planning this out. At the end of my animation, I want to spell my name. So on frame 40 images in, my text will be right here. Now I want to read this text for a bit, so a few milliseconds. I'm going to go a couple frames. I can go 5 or 10. In this case, I'm going to go 10, and I'm just going to hit F6. Put in another keyframe. From here, I'm going to be doing a few different things. I'm going to be using a new tool called the Free Transform tool. This is going to allow me to grab my object, move it around, and resize it. So I'm going to click on my letter. I'm going to make sure I'm on frame 1 by clicking on frame 1 on my F layer, and I'm going to move my object. I'm also going to grab the corners, stretch it out, rotate it around, make it look different. And I'm going to do this for every single one, but for right now, focus on one letter. Now from here, every 5 frames, you're going to insert a new keyframe. Now, if I'm going through my timeline here, here's frame 1, here's frame 5. Nothing has changed. On frame 40, oh, look, my text is back to where it was. We don't want to change frame 40 through 50 in this case. So back to frame 5. Frame 1, this is where we left off. Frame 5, I'm going to move it to another place. Rotate it around, stretch it out, change it. Repeat this process every 5 frames. Once you get used to it, it goes rather fast. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we're going to click on frame 1. I'm going to hold shift and click on everything but frame 40, so 1 to 39. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit create classic tween. From here, I want to test my animation. To test my animation, I'm going to go to Control, Test, and it will run. If yours isn't moving fluidly, we didn't create a classic tween down here. It's just going to show your animation flipbook style, one image or one keyframe at a time. We're going to repeat this exact same process of inserting keyframes and creating a classic tween for every single layer or every single letter in your name. Good luck!